go. Let's pop that bad beezy on. Balling on a budget just continued. Here we go. Another episode of the Going Over podcast. Hey, I got the pen in my hand, and I believe we're at 157. 157 on an undercover cap. It's the Going Over podcast. It is I, your neighborhood-friendly coach, trainer, promoter, and 44-year-old professional wrestler. Not going to be able to say that for very much longer. And oh boy, am I joined alongside the big man, my podcast partner, as always. I'm going to say it again until it starts to wear thin. The man who pulls his wanger out the bottom of his and one basketball shorts to take a pee in the bathroom, the 7-foot wrecking ball, Paul Isadora. Paul, welcome to the program. I am jacked on.
Oh, yeah, jacked on the coffee.
Jack, baby!
I've got my Folgers crystals here mixed up in a cup with hot water and just a one spoonful of Folgers crystals, ready to rock and roll.
Part of waking up is independent wrestling is enough. What's going on, brother?
Oh, not much, man. We've just been trading stories throughout the day. I don't know, man. Just it's great to talk wrestling, man. Like just during the day, just to BS, to kind of get away from life, but at the same time, I feel like it's a lot of frustration as well. Talking about wrestling also, so yeah, I don't know, man. I just another podcast, man. I just want to get to chatting about whatever we're going to chat about today. You said you had a lot to talk about, so I'm ready to talk about whatever it is that it's going to be that we talk about.
All ears, baby, all ears. You know, when I'm breaking this thing down and I'm looking at wrestling as a whole, there's so much to do, man. There's so much creativity to have. There's so many stories to tell. And we align ourselves in these situations where we're looking at it. And that's how I look at this process. I was talking to Sparky, and we were talking about the Oregon trip that Bad News and Ethan went on. And we got to talking. We had a long conversation, not about wrestling too, which is something I'm trying to really enjoy after we talk about the wrestling is how much longer can I talk to these guys about dumb shit, right? But one thing I was asking him was, I said, what's the story? You know, just like at West Coast Pro, I said, tell me what's going on down there. Tell me what the story is. And he started telling me he started telling me what was happening. And it really sounded like it was just what was going on at the end of the match. You know what I mean? Like you're hearing somebody break down. Like I'm like, what's the best story that you guys got going on? Tell me about a character. Tell me what's going on. And he starts telling me, and I'm waiting patiently for it to end. And I go, well, it sounds like you're telling me what happened at the end of a match, like what's going on with the finish of it. But like, what is the story and where is this going? And we talk about all these things, man. Every single day we talk about, we've talked about stipulation matches. We've talked about where you stand properly for the tag match and what's going on in the tag match and what's going on with this comeback and how should the baby sell? Why are the finishes drawn out so much? And it's one of the things I'm going to work backwards here today. In what's the word I'm looking for? As a salute to old school Oliver John and all the great professional wrestlers out there. We're gonna go backwards today. We're gonna try this podcast going backwards and see if we can get through to some people. So we're gonna start with the finish. We're gonna put together our finish right now. And one thing I want to talk about is the fatigue of the finish, right? We've been going over this thing. We've touched on it here and there. But It's the end of the match, man. It should be more drawn out. It should be slower. As I think about this, because we talked about Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker, right, at 25. And we felt like that was like the moment where guys just started kicking out of everything at the finish. And we said, well, and I was on this podcast early on in our podcast, and I said, Paul, the reason they're kicking out is because it's The Undertaker and it's Shawn Michaels. And it's the stage they're on and everything else. And just like anything in life, as I move along, I'm always trying to progress, and I'm always trying to think and get smarter. And I realize that it's not that it's Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker. Like, that's a part of it, right? But what it is the finishing moves in a match, if you're really selling it right, if you're selling the match properly all the way through, and we're going to get into this, we're going backwards. But the finish, you should be able to kick out of more moves at the end because they are less effective than they are at any point of the match. Every move that's hit after the comeback is way less effective than it would be before the comeback. So if you're hitting these moves before the comeback, whether it's early on in the match, somewhere in the heat before the comeback, there's a good chance that your move is probably going to finish a person. It's going to have everything behind it. But at the end of the match, the reason you should be kicking out of all these near falls or false finishes or whatever you want to call them is because you're tired. You're fatigued. My super kick is not going to be as effective deep into the contest, and I might hit that motherfucker and fall down, and that 3 seconds it takes me to recover and crawl over to make the cover might be enough time for you to kick out. It's a split second business we're in. Literally, that's all it takes to win a championship at WrestleMania in the main event. 1, 2, 3. So let's think about this. If it's a near fall, a false finish, think about this count for a second. If that's 3 seconds, think about what these guys are kicking out of. 1, 2, not 3. So but the problem with kicking out all these moves nowadays, here's the problem. They're not selling. They'll sell for a minute, but then they'll get right to they'll do a fucking injury angle. You know what I mean? They'll do a put me out of the business for 3 months angle before I come back red hot. But they're not selling. So by the time we get to the false finishes, we've seen it all going through the contest. We've seen it from start to finish. If you sell the match accordingly and you build the product up accordingly in these matches, then it's okay to kick out at these moves and draw the drama into what you're doing. But you have to build these matches up so that the audience believes that it's even, man. It's something you talk about all the time. Am I supposed to believe that 20-year veteran Adam Thornstowe got in the ring with Kid Carson and went 25 minutes? No, never going to happen. So what do you think about what I'm talking about right there? Because we talked about Shawn and Taker and the kickouts and where the business went. I have thought about it for a while, and I believe we're not selling properly because there should, in a big-time matchup, there should be a lot of close falls and kickouts and, oh, do I have what it takes to put this guy away? Because we've sold this match into the building, and this is what we want the fans to believe, right?
Right, and I think with the, when you're looking at things like that from a freshness standpoint versus a worn-out standpoint, it does make sense. You aren't going to hit the finish with as much gusto at the end as you would at the beginning, and in theory, the guy's power meter, from a video game perspective, the power meter is lower at the end. But obviously there's different circumstances where that can play out, right? It could be the guy that's hitting the finisher is maybe the heel, and they've been kicking the shit out of the baby face the entire time. So in that case, I would say maybe you don't kick out of that finish because it's a fresher, non-worn out heel, maybe hitting their finish with a lot more, power behind it or whatever. But it just reminds me of just recently I saw somebody post something online, and it was them hitting their finish like over the past 3 years or something like that. And it said, still no one has kicked out of this finish, right? And in my mind, it's the things that we say back and forth to each other. Like, that's when you've established a finish, and then that's where you can do the falsies, right? Because everyone knows over the past 3 years, nobody has kicked out of this finish, right? So that's when that element of surprise can come out. But I also think that it has to be in the situation where the person that's hitting the finish, like you just said, is worn out to a certain degree, so they're not hitting it at the full effectiveness of the finish, right? So there's definitely some gray area in there. Obviously nothing is black and white as we may think it might be in pro wrestling. There's always something to go, oh, well, what about if it was this, right? So I definitely think that you have a point when, maybe it's more realistic to kick out of a finish if both guys are worn out to a certain degree, where you're not going to hit the finish at its full potential. You're not going to cover them as quickly as you normally would. But I also see that, I see the flip side of that. And, if you say the finish with you being worn out isn't going to be hit at its full potential, what happens if that finish is hit right off the bat, right? You hit somebody with the finish right off the bat. Should that mean that the match is over because you hit it at your full strength? Or do you also take into consideration the other guy is pretty fresh as well, right? So maybe even though it's your quote unquote finish, and that really leads into another thing that's a pet peeve of mine, is that people think that a match has to end with a quote unquote finisher, right?
Yes.
We talked about that with the Young Lions Cup that we were like agenting, right? We were going over, and I mentioned this earlier to you in a completely different situation, but the way that I ask questions, right? It's not to say, hey, that's a stupid idea. It's more of sell me on that idea, right? Maybe I'm not seeing your vision of what you're talking about when you're talking about the way that a match is going to finish, right? If you tell me, hey, I'm going to hit you with a spear, and I come back and say, do you think you could beat everyone in the building with that move? That's a question for me to go, I want you to justify that to me. And, just like we're having a conversation right now, like there is some gray area there. Yeah, maybe I can beat the majority of the people in here, but the exceptions are, I can't beat a Bad News, I can't beat a Paul Isadora, I can't beat an Alex Ace, I can't, maybe there's some bigger guys that you go, maybe I'm not going to be able to beat these guys with that move, right? But the majority of them I would be able to. But that kind of runs into the, does every match have to be, I feel like so many guys that it's like you're going over. It's like, okay, well, I'm going to beat you with my super kick, choke slam, power bomb, whatever my quote unquote finisher is. We're not seeing a whole lot of creativity where it's things that you'd see back in the day where you'd see a guy hit a fucking inside cradle or schoolboy because the guy fucking missed in the corner and fucking went sternum first into the steel buckle there, or just all these different things that I think from a commentary standpoint you could definitely explain why that happened and things like that. But we're so caught up in we're going to hit our finish, and that's why we're kicking out of so many false finishes, because it's like, well, I'm going to hit you with my choke slam, I'm going to hit you with my power bomb, I'm going to hit you with my whatever, my spine buster. There's not a whole lot of the false finishes where you whip a guy to the buckle and he goes fucking up and over and schoolboys you and you kick out of that, right? Because that's a great finish to kick out of, right? Because it's not something where it's a huge devastating move, but it is a pin attempt, right?
Well, can Conor McGregor knock you out at the start of the fight?
Absolutely. Yes.
Can Conor McGregor knock you out at the end of the fight?
Yes.
Yes. But also at the end of the fight, like, did you ever think about maybe in the fourth quarter, maybe it's not the fact that this guy threw an interception because the defensive back was read him well. Maybe it's this guy's been fucking playing the whole game, throwing fucking 43 passes and his arm is wore out. And it's the fourth quarter, it's fucking overtime, and he's taking a shot down the field and he just don't got the arm strength. Maybe the shot from Kobe Bryant, maybe it's not going to be on the money because he's fatigued after playing 4 straight quarters, 82 minutes of basketball. Or maybe that's what makes the performer so great, is that Conor McGregor can knock you out at the start of the match and put you to sleep, and he can put you to sleep 25 minutes later in this contest. And what makes you a viable opponent is that you can take more punishment and be more resilient early on, and you can also take the same punishment later in the contest, because we call it championship minutes, right? And that's what defines a champion. You get these matches, you get this stuff, and you go, if I'm a heel, I don't want to beat the babyface that's on my level. I don't want to, if I'm Zach Reeb and I'm the bad guy, whether I'm the champ or not, and this is the best good guy coming up that we're trying to build the company around, 20 minutes into the contest, I don't want to super kick him if he's on my level and pin him dead to rights in the center of the ring, because now we've just killed any momentum this guy has. Could he hit the turnbuckle? Could he argue with the ref? Could he be distracted? Yes, there needs to be some reason why I did beat him with that move. But I shouldn't be beating a guy equally matched up with me as the heel with my move. The babyface should be beating me. He should be the one that beats me clean. That's the whole fucking purpose of being the babyface. That's what I'm trying to do as the villain, is I'm trying to elevate this. I don't want to beat this guy. I can beat this guy, but I don't really want to beat this guy, because if I really do beat this guy, now can I beat someone underneath me in 7 minutes with that? Of course I can, because that's somebody who, if I'm wrestling less than 10 minutes, that's not the guy who's going to take the belt from me. Like, I could be open challenge. I could be surprised. They could take it to me real quick and overwhelm me, and I wasn't prepared, or I was a little too overconfident. But if we're standing in the middle of the ring, whether there's Japanese introductions or ring introductions or not, if me and somebody's in this ring and I beat them in less than 10 minutes, that's not the guy. That's okay for me as the heel to beat that guy, because that's someone who's coming up and they're going to actually get over a little bit by going, that deep into a contest with the champion. But if it's like me and Adam Thornstowe and I'm the heel, I don't smoke Adam with the super kick and pin him in the ring cleanly, because then we have just killed the guy we're trying to build. But he can smoke me with the super kick at the end of this contest and pin me cleanly, because I'm the heel. I can put my foot on the rope after the 3 hits. I can throw my shoulder up. I can complain about something. I can find a way to still antagonize and get over, but we can't beat this guy. We do not want to beat this guy. That's the goal in this. How much can we get out of this audience before we lose them? And do we know? because I tell people this all the time. I was watching the American the Grande Americano match, right? And they're doing a lot of unnecessary shit. And the presentation of the entrances and the audience and how much they were into it, but they weren't into the fucking white noise through the table. They weren't into the high belly to back suplex off the top rope that folded Ludwig Kaiser or whatever up. They weren't into the dangerous stuff. The crowd wasn't popping for that. They were popping for ripping the mask and then opening the eye of the mask and making them bleed and the characters that were involved in this story for the last however long. The girlfriend that got fired and she showed up and had a ticket in her hand. They were interested in the story of this thing, right? That's what they were buying into. They were not buying into the fucking moves, man. They didn't care. They did a lot of dangerous stuff, but it actually was a lot of unnecessary stuff because they didn't have to do it. So I was talking to someone the other day and I said, it's a simple answer. Why do people try to do so much stuff in a match? It's because they're not comfortable doing less. They're not comfortable working the crowd. It's a really simple answer. We don't even need to digest this thing on here. Why would somebody feel the need to do a whole bunch of shit they don't need to do? Because they don't know how to work. They don't know how to get the audience, man. And that's all it is. You do more because you don't know how to do less. And that's what that statement means. And so many people come out here and they say things. And I don't know if they're being a smart ass or if they think they think because they heard it, it's something to say. And this is no knock on anybody. This is everybody. It's like, to some of us, we work our entire career so we can execute getting over with the audience, execute getting the right reaction. We are executing, and that's all wrestling is execution. Like, you could do a tackle, a fucking body slam, and a headlock takeover, and the guy could take a couple snap bumps, and then he's got to know how to take those three moves and give those three moves maybe. And as long as we listen to the crowd, we could put on what these kids now they call a banger, a banger. And it's just like, that's what it is, man. You're doing all this because you don't know how to do the other stuff. And the other stuff is what's going to create longevity. The hardest stuff to do in this business is to actually work a hold. The hardest stuff in this business is to listen to the audience. The hardest stuff in this business is from the time you walk out the curtain to the time you go back, telling the audience, I'm bad and I'm good, right? That's the real talent of what we're doing. And somewhere along the lines, we got into, well, look at all this athleticism and look at all these crazy things I can do. You're doing that because you don't know how to do the other thing, or you don't know how to get the audience to react to this. So we have to do so much more. And that's just a simplified answer to it, 100%.
Right. I mean, and we talk about, I think you touched on it a little bit, and I was hoping you wouldn't gloss over it too much, but the idea that a heel has to win dirty all the time. You explained it a little bit. It's like, yeah, if I'm a better wrestler than you and I'm the heel, I can beat you cleanly because that's believable. I should beat you cleanly because I'm a better wrestler than you. I've got more experience than you. Whatever the reasoning is, and I think we get caught up in that as finishes as well. Like, we're like, oh well, if the heel's going over, it's got to be a dirty tactic, right? It's got to be pulling the tights, putting the foot on the ropes, cheating. Cheating in some way, whatever, low blow or whatever the thing is. And we got to make sure that is something that people are aware of as well. The heel can win cleanly. The heel can be a better wrestler. You think of a heel Kurt Angle is going to be able to beat a lot of people cleanly, right? Realistically. So so yeah, not to gloss over that, but I think that's an important point to make sure that we're aware of. And jumping back to your not being able to work, um, it's definitely that thing where it's the uncomfortableness of what we talk about all the time is listening to the crowd. And um, you know people gets too impatient with their chain wrestling, and oh, the crowd isn't reacting to this like they would be reacting to dangerous moves. But if we stick with it and we tell a story and they go, oh, I see what's going on here, this guy is a better wrestler than the other guy. So every time the one guy thinks he escapes and gets a little confidence, the better wrestler takes him back down to the mat or puts him into another hold or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And we're not patient enough to tell that story of this guy's a better wrestler and this guy's a worse wrestler. So now this guy needs to take a shortcut to gain an advantage, right? We get too impatient with that because the crowd isn't reacting because we're not doing a bunch of big moves. But how many times do you hear somebody down on the mat in a chin lock or some sort of hold where one guy wants to get up and get back to the action, and normally the more experienced guy goes, no, just wait here, they'll come up, right? The crowd will start to react, then we can start to work into getting it to where something happens at the crescendo, at the peak of what the crowd's reacting to, and then we can either let something happen or we can cut the dude back off again. So there's just a patience thing there, and I think about, like, I was having this thought process today about you talking about get in the ring and use locking up, waltz and lock up as the as your warm up, right? And it's like people are like, oh, I don't want to do that. It's boring, whatever. It's like, man, that's going to get your lockups really crisp and believable. And people are going to think when they hear that collision, that slap, the sound, all that stuff of the lockup, they're going to go, oh, shit. These guys are in a fight. These guys are in some sort of conflict. It's believable at that point. And you hear so many people say that. I can tell if it's going to be a good match from the lockup, right? Just watching this one specific thing that we harp on so much that people seem to spend so little time getting good at.
No time.
Right. So that was just something that I was thinking about. Like, how many wrestling schools are you going to walk into and they're working on spots or, doing some sort of series of things where it's like, let's slow down, let's back up, let's get to the point where we're locking up and grabbing a hold. Let's figure that out. Let's figure out how to do the thing that this sport is called, which is wrestling. Let's figure out how to wrestle. Because I think it's so few and far between that you're going to see a match that's got more than a couple minutes of actual wrestling before they get into whatever they're doing, strikes and moves and all this stuff.
Well, the strikes. Am I supposed to believe, like, okay, I hit you with a fucking same size type of guys, right? I hit you with a forearm and you sold it. But then in the next match, or I run you into the buckle and you sell it. And then the next match, I run the guy into the buckle and he fucking runs back out of the buckle and knocks me over and he's on fire. Or he doesn't sell the shot. You find your guy. Find your guy, man. And they're not too hard to find. I could look at you and I'd be like, there's my guy. Bad news. There's my guy, Jalen. I could look at any card and find my guy and go, I'm not going to beat this guy. I'm not even going to put him in a position to beat this guy. I was talking to Jalen today and I said, did you lose to Dreamy Drew in Urington? He said, no, I won that match. I said, I remember he got way too much offense. Like those guys should have been the heels we were talking about. And I said, did you lose to Malcolm in Winnemucca? And he said, yeah, that's the only loss I've had. And I said, well, okay. I said, that's the way it should be. I said, have you lost in PCW yet? And he goes, no. And I go, because why the fuck would we beat you? Why would we beat you? There's nobody else like you on these cards. You're in shape. You're 6'9". You got charisma. The crowd fucking, man, the crowd's behind you. They have a connection with you. You look like $1 million. You're athletic. The fuck you going to beat this guy for? There's no point in beating this guy until there's someone that needs to beat this guy that's going to benefit, man. Who's going to benefit? That's all you're looking for. And what I'm saying about the finish is you're right. The heel should be able to beat somebody. Should be able to beat somebody cleanly. But not when he gets to the highest point. When you get to, we have sold the ticket off of this baby face and this heel. No, the heel doesn't beat that guy cleanly. And yes, that baby face eventually beats that heel cleanly. And then that baby face moves on and you get the next heel to come up. That's the problem. We don't have anybody loaded up because people don't know how to be the heel. So how can you have a babyface champion that's really going to get over and sell tickets if you don't have good heels lined up that can nip at his fucking toes and make the audience want to watch? That's why babyface runs suck. That's why Hulk Hogan's run was so long. And Bruno Sammartino and fucking Bob Backlund. There were guys like the Iron Sheik and Sika and Killer Khan, you know what I mean? And, you know, the one-man gang, man. There was goddamn, what's his name? Superstar Billy Graham, man. You know what I mean? There were actual heels that you could, even if they weren't going to win the belt, you just looked at these guys and went, oh shit, going to be a rough night tonight for the Hulkster. You know what I mean? Look at this guy he's wrestling. And then who was Hulk really feuding with? He was feuding with Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff, who had fucking Bobby the Brain Heenan. But in the wings was King Kong Bundy. You know what I mean? Don the Rock Morocco. There were Greg the Hammer. There was somebody that you just looked at. And the thing about it is, like, the guys nowadays, no, I don't think a lot of these guys are on the sauce, or I don't think these guys are strength lifters, because they're not. I'm not worried about these guys, man. Like, even if somebody was like, oh, that guy's a black belt in Taekwondo. That kid's a black belt in Taekwondo. I go, I don't care. I'm fucking 44 years old, and I've been in the business 24 years. I will get back up, and I will find a way to stick my thumb in this kid's eye in a real fight. You know what I mean? Like, I won't do it fair, and that's what makes me a good heel. It's like last show when I got tagged in. I left my vest on because I knew when I came in, I wasn't going to pull my vest off and cheat in front of the referee. I pulled my vest off real quick, and I turned the wrestler in the corner. You know what I mean? I turned the wrestler in the corner, and now Karina is like, is he cheating? And the fans see it, and she comes over, and I already have, by the time she gets over there to see what I'm doing, I've already thrown my vest to the floor. It's gone. I'm like, nope. I was using this. There's so many ways to cheat, but everybody as a heel wants to do so many fucking moves. It's like, no, especially in a tag match. Dude, it's 2-on-1. We're cutting the ring off with this guy. The guy they want to see is on the outside. All the dude in the middle of the ring has to do, all the guy taking the heat has to do, is just try to get over and make it. That's it. That's his job. Maybe a couple punches, you know, get him behind. He doesn't do anything. Because if you're getting up in that situation and you're running a spot, then you're not in the heat anymore. Sorry to tell you that. Hey, hate to break it to you guys. If you're in the heat and you get up and you start running off the ropes and doing a spot, you might get cut back down, but you are no longer in the heat anymore. You are now in the comeback phase of this match. So if you want to, I guess you can call it a mini comeback, but it shouldn't be too much, because if you start fucking bumping, if If you start body slamming and bumping the guy around while you're taking the heat and then he cuts you back off, you're taking away from your real comeback.
I know you like to say unload all your artillery during your comeback. And obviously that speaks to exactly what you were just talking about. Is you're fighting back a little bit, but it shouldn't be a bunch of moves in there, right? You're getting a little hope here and there, where the fans can kind of start getting behind you and go, oh my, he's fighting back here, or he's putting up a fight. He's not getting completely demolished. We say it, or I like to say that, like, the don't die thing all the time, just because it's something, hopefully, that someone has been trained to understand what that term means. Don't die, like not selling with their face into the mat and being lifeless and things like that. So hopefully that's something that's understood universally, through training, that you're not going to die. You're going to fight back a little bit. You're going to provide some resistance to getting your ass kicked. Whether it's just throwing a shot to the gut or whatever it is, breaking out of a clinch and then throwing a shot and getting shut back down, or I know you like to say, at the beginning of the beat down is when you're going to kind of fire back a little bit more because you're still a little bit more fresh, which kind of leads right back into what we were talking about at the finish. You're going to fight back more closer to the beginning of the match because you've got more energy to do that. So definitely something we need to keep in our mind. And obviously we don't want to go Superman mode where we're just completely forget to sell anything at all when we're delivering some sort of offense.
Know where you're at, right? Know where you're at in the match. Know what's been happening to you. That's what I loved about Steamboat. Everyone talks about all this Steamboat shit. What I loved about Steamboat was they're getting behind him. And each one of those is wearing him down more, fighting back. It's, I got you. Now I'm a little bit bigger. I got you. One more big one. Got you. And that final one, he's not up to a vertical base yet. He's fought his way back up, and now he sells just a breath. Just that one final blow, because it took him 3 to get back up to his feet. And then by the time he goes to finally stand up to maybe get some offense, the heel shuts him down. That's what's fucking missing. If you literally took these guys, whether it's training class, seminar, whatever, and tried to show them, even guys that have been wrestling a while now, that they would rush it every fucking time. I could probably sit there for 5 straight hours and go, oh. And they would never understand it because they don't know. They don't understand where you're at. Like, you have to wrestle where you're at. And I could say that, and people are like, you gotta wrestle where they're at. What's he talking about? Well, you're getting beat up. Wrestle like you're really trying to fight back. Because I'll tell you this right now, and I'll fucking tell you this. If you're beating me up and I have to try to fight back on a guy like your size, it's going to take everything I got to get off of the mat, to get you loosened up a little bit, for me to even get back up to my feet. To the point that no matter what I fucking do to you after fighting to get back up on a 7-foot fucking 300-pound guy, I'm not going to have much left on my 4th or 5th shot. There ain't going to be much left if I decide to run off the ropes. You know what I mean? I'm not going to have my energy to climb to the top rope to get what I need to come down on you. That's what I mean by sell where you're at in the contest, because they're not doing it. And the guys that have done it for fucking 75 to 100 years, it's a work of fucking art. And then people go, oh, it's boring. It's not boring, because it gives the audience a chance to engage in what we're doing. They have to connect with you. They cannot connect with you if you're doing the international spot and then doing a tope out the ring. There's no connection there, because you're going. They're like, wow, that was a lot of shit I just saw right there. Instead of, I'd rather you fucking run me over with the tackle and fucking, rah! And then the fans go, fuck you. And you're like, oh, fuck me? No. That's what I'm going to do to him. And they're like, oh, you're gay. And you're like, oh, yeah, you think so? Well, I'm about to do that to him. And then they're like, come on, buddy, let's. And it sounds so corny when we say it, right? But it's like, man, give the audience a chance to get their money's worth. They think giving the audience their money's worth is going out there and destroying. Like, hey, guys, you've already let the world know this is a work. You've already given away the tricks and the secrets, and you said, hey, this is fake. So why are you really hurting each other? I mean, that's all I got to say. Why? If I'm in the ring with somebody, especially now, and they're like, I'm going to hit a fucking brain buster on you from the top rope. I'm like, why? Why would you even think about doing that? As a matter of fact, I don't want to wrestle you, because that is what's going through your head right now. Is that, like I've said to people before, I'm like, hey, let's take it easy tonight. There's not a lot of people out there. And I've seen guys in the business for 10 years walk up to the curtain when I say that and go, well, it's not too bad. I'm like, what does that mean? There's 75 people out there. You just looked out there and were like, not bad at all. Dude. So what are you telling me? You want to go out here and fucking hurt each other or risk not being able to go to work on Monday at the level we're at because you think 75 fans is a big hot crowd? We're going to give 75 fans their money's worth. That's the best part. I think it's funny in wrestling, and I want to get your opinion on this. Isn't it so just like oxymoronic that people are like, it's a light crowd out there tonight. Let's just go out there and work them and give them their money's worth, but let's not do nothing crazy. It's like, hey, maybe you should have that mentality when there's a lot of people out there. Let's go out there and give them their money. Because you're saying there's not a lot of people. There's 25 fans out there. Let's not do anything crazy and hurt ourselves. That should be your fucking mentality if there was 10,000 people out there. Moron. It's just so funny to me. It's like, there could be two people out there. That's it. We always say, all you got to do is connect with one person, right? Just connect with one. The rest will follow. Okay, I got 2 fans out here. That should be easy for me because I only got 2. So I should be able to drive these 2 people's dicks in the dirt by working a heel towards them, right? Because I only got 2 of them. I'm not connecting with one. I'm connecting with 2. I'm doubling my connection. But how come when there's less crowd, then the fucking performer actually gets smart? He's like, there's 10 people out here tonight. We ain't doing nothing. Yeah, you are going to do something because you're going to go out there and work the crowd and find a way to get them to 10 people to react to you without killing yourself. Now, imagine if you did that in front of 300 people. Oh boy, would you be a great worker. Because that's what we're trying to do here is we're trying to work the audience, not hurt ourselves. What do you think about what I just said? Because that's just basically crazy to me. People are like, I like crowd tonight. We're gonna give them their money's worth, but we're not gonna hurt ourselves. Like what? That don't make sense.
Exactly. Well, you think about that. That's the way that it should always be. We're going to give them their money's worth, and we're not going to hurt each other. that's what we should always be, striving for. But you hear the cliche term, the less is more, right? Less is more, all these things like that. It's like, are we just saying that because that's what we think that makes you sound intelligent when you're talking about pro wrestling, or are we actually going out there and doing and living that mantra of less is more? Are we really going out there and and working a hold and like you said, hit a big tackle and work the audience a little bit before you go into whatever's happening next, and allow the fans to digest what's going on rather than hitting them with 5 moves in a row and they're like, oh wow, that was a lot of action right there. What do I react to? When if you give them the tackle and let them react to that, and if whatever the next series is, if it's a drop down and you're really selling the fact that this guy's trying to trip you, so you have to step over him so he doesn't trip you and put you on your face, and then the guy's trying to give you a fez press so you duck underneath it so he doesn't fucking smash you to the mat and start punching you in the face, and let him react to each little individual thing that's happening, and then let it breathe a little bit when the guy's down on the mat, and you can work that audience a little bit more with that stuff. So I don't know what's going on. You hear a lot of the cliche terms where people want to sound intelligent when they're talking about wrestling, but when you watch it in action, you're just saying that you're not living the less is more. You're not living give the fans what they want. You're not living these things that you're saying. You're just saying them because you think that they need to be said, and it makes you sound intelligent when you're talking about pro wrestling. So, I mean, just like you've said 100 times, it's all about execution, right? Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
you can tell me the right answer, but can you show me the right answer? Can you execute the right answer?
Well, that's all it comes down to. All we're looking to do is execute. And we're looking to execute what the promoter wants us to execute. And that's where things got a little shifty, because when we were wrestling back in the day, and here it comes, oh, it's a back in my day story. Yep, it is. But when we were wrestling back in the day, there was less companies and there was less cards. So you actually had to work harder to get on the card. And then what happens is, okay, guess what? Guess what's being sold now? Not just the secrets, but you can buy rings. You can buy belts. You can buy you can rent a building. You can be a promoter without actually putting the time in to be called a promoter, a booker. You can do all these things now. And what we call this is renegade wrestling, right? These are renegade promotions. And we've all been a part of this stuff. But now there's so much, right? There's so much stuff that I asked someone the other day, I don't want to say the name, but I said, hey, besides a free show, I'm talking about a promoted paid event, what's the biggest crowd that you've wrestled in front of? And it took a while for this answer to come out. I was like, fuck, man, are you going to answer me? And what it comes down to is people are like, man, 200 is a great draw. You know what I mean? You get 200 fans, people are like, fuck yeah, dude, we fucking sold this place out. Now, I don't ever, a lot of people, Gabe Ramirez, when he runs a lot of different stuff, but when he runs like John O'Connell in San Francisco, or he runs the whatever high school in San Jose, when he runs an actual venue like that, I mean, that motherfucker has come to Gridley. I drew like 300 at our big show in Gridley at the big building at the fairgrounds. And then he rented my ring and came down and did Mexican TV and brought his guys down. And he had food trucks in the building, not outside the building, in the building, selling beer and food in the gym. He had like 2,000 fans. You know what I mean? Like, you're sitting here in your own hometown going, and I know it's a higher Hispanic audience, and that's what he really sold to, but you're going, what a fucking promoter. Like, fuck, I wish I could make the money that this guy made tonight. You know what I mean? Like, it's the truth. I mean, the guy probably made like $15,000-$20,000, probably more, and had 1,500 legitimate paying fans at his show or whatever was not given away on the fucking radio for hype. And you're like, damn, dude, that night right there for any promoter would be life-changing. It would be braggable. And here's this guy who you say, what is the most wrestling? What's the most fans you've wrestled in front of? Well, I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. On a paid show, the most fans I've wrestled in front of, besides when I was in Japan on pay-per-view and TV and, you know, shit like that, has been a Gabe Ramirez show. When I wrestled in front of 1,500 at Santa Maria High School for All Pro Wrestling, and Billy was the promoter down there, it was still a Gabe Ramirez run promotion. You know, he was the one who put the promotion and the backing into it. The guy knows how to promote, and he knows how to make money. That's what we're in, right? We're in the wrestling business. So no matter how he's doing, look at Billy. Billy does like 500 shows a year with 400, 4 different crews of midgets. Great. You're a great promoter. You know, who's better? They go, oh, he's exploiting little people. And then you go, oh, Gabe's exploiting Mexicans. No, he's not. Midget wrestling is a novelty. Lucha Libre is a popular novelty. You know, here in this town I live in, if there was an East Indian, if there was East Indian wrestler that was popular or over something like that, you could draw 20,000 people here at a Sikh temple. I mean, these are just smart people that are promoting, man. So, I mean, if you want to draw, you got to find what you're doing and do it well, man. But you still have to tell us a story. I've never watched a TV series because I was like, I really like the way they play golf in Happy Gilmore. That's why I watch Happy Gilmore, because I learn a lot about golf. No, Adam Sandler's fucking the GOAT, man. All the characters in the cast around him. Here's Shooter McGavin. You know what I mean? God, Shooter's such a prick. He's the story, the comedy. That's what sells it for it, man. I don't watch Happy Gilmore for golf.
That's it. I mean, and we talk about that from the social media thing, right? Like, how do you think about how do you get your YouTube channel or your podcast? How do you get it to be something special? And you need to find out what your niche is, right? What's going to be something that's interesting for people to watch? What's going to be entertaining? Obviously, you talk about listening to Cornette all the time, and the guys that are knowledgeable, the guys that are gonna shoot straight and give you their opinion and things like that. We're just like, I'm gonna learn something from this, and obviously that was the reason that we started doing this, was, the hope that people are listening and we can go, okay, hey guys, let's move forward and let's get better. And these guys are, trying to give some advice. Let's try to put some of it into practice and see if we can get better, right? Not just as an individual worker, but see if I can get better, make a better card, make a better product in general, right? Draw more money. All of these things are, they all equal the same thing, which is you're trying to get to the point where you can make a living doing pro wrestling, right? Whether it's getting, helping a promoter get their show to be a big deal, and they reward you by going, hey, you were one of the first people that was loyal and you're always around, you're willing to work with the storyline, or especially you're willing to do exactly what I'm asking you to do, trying to fulfill my vision, and hopefully that's leads you to get rewarded, right? You're loyal to somebody, and the promotion starts going well, and next thing you know, your envelope is getting increasingly larger. Just remember that we've just got 5 minutes left in this podcast. Just 5 more minutes left.
Oh yeah. Increase that envelope. Let's get that thing just fatty boom batty. Well, it's just plain and simple, man. When you're breaking all this stuff down, we talk about it verbatim and we go over and over and over. I think why I listen to Jim Cornette and why I listen to JD from NY and all those guys is because they're breaking down the matches and the shows. Like I would love for me and you to get to go watch some indie wrestling every week. Every weekend we just get in the car and we go watch indie wrestling shows. And then we come on here and we break it down and talk about the matches. Because that's why I watch. Because it's not when you see something great, it's rare. And that's why I always say, like, you go, how many great matches did Shawn Michaels really have? And when you really look at them, you could be like, there was some good matches here or there, but great. I mean, you could probably put him on two hands. You know what I mean? Because everything he did wasn't great. I've seen him do a lot of good work in the ring. Shit. But a lot of these matches, what is a great match? Does it draw? Do you get somebody over? Because I know that me personally, putting me on, even in my hometown, putting me on the card isn't going to draw ticket sales. But if you put me in a situation and give me time to work with somebody else and build somebody else up and give me 9-10 months or whatever to lead up to a blow off match or something, anything along those lines, that's going to draw. We saw that with me and you. That will draw. But to just put a wrestler in the ring and expect, oh, I'm going to put this guy on the flyer and the building's going to be sold out, not going to happen. And that's just the truth. Not going to happen.
Well, I mean, that's always the hope, right? And when you're bringing people in, that's kind of your reasoning behind what you're going to pay them is like, how are you going to affect the draw? Is it going to be I'm putting you on the card and I'm going to draw the exact same amount of people? They're just going to see somebody that I paid extra money for, or is it truly going to affect the draw? Is it going to be somebody getting being put on your poster and getting eyes on them and going, oh, wow, I'm going to go take a look at that because I want to see what does this guy bring to the table? Or maybe it's a name and you go, man, I haven't seen that guy in a while, or I've never seen that person live or whatever. And that's the reason that you're going to go to that show. I was just talking to somebody about the return on investment, right? Hey, what's it going to cost, for you to come to the show? Well, it's going to cost you this much. It's like, wow, man, I don't feel like that's a good return on investment because I don't feel like I'm going to make my money back in that situation, right? So you're trying to look for those situations where you can make your money back and hopefully make more money as a result. So, finding those people that you could put on a flyer that people are going to be intrigued by or excited to see. Obviously, that's the key. That's what we're trying to accomplish, and finding the formula there is obviously what every wrestling promoter would love to have.
Well, we've seen it. You've seen it, right? Like we've seen all these moves and everything like that. It's like TNA is going to come to Memorial Auditorium. AEW is going to come there. WWE is going to come to Raw. And every wrestler in fucking Northern California is either going to try to get on as an extra, help set up a ring, or they're going to buy a fucking ticket or somehow get a ticket and be there themselves. So if the guys that are trying to draw fans into their shows in convention centers and community centers and high school gyms and soccer arenas and shit like that. If those guys, if they're gonna see the big stuff, everyone's like, support indie wrestling. Well, indie wrestling has got to give us a reason to support them. You got anything? You got anything else, big man, before we close this mother effer down?
And we've just got for us, we've got a little over 2 weeks with this drops. A little over 2 weeks for our next show here in Sparks. Training seminar beforehand at 10 a.m. Opportunity for people to get a little taste of it. See if it's see if you're built for this. See if you're built different. So hopefully we'll get some more people there, and we're looking to get the school back open here in Sparks, Nevada. So all of these things are exciting for us moving forward.
Get your pencils, get your pencil sharpeners. Parents, it's time to take these students out and get them some brand new school clothes. Silver tabs. Silver tabs were my favorite when I was younger. Hey, everyone. I didn't say it this entire podcast. I'll keep it here for the end. You haters out there, go ahead. Hit that subscribe button. I am slowly hitting you and I'm hypnotizing you. I will listen to what he is saying, and he will not go quietly into the night. You got dang right I'm not going to go quietly into the night, ever. For Zach Primetime Reeb and the Wrecking Ball Paul Isadora, we do it twice a week. You know what that is? You know what that is. Come on, man. It's part of your gimmick.
It's going. We're going over. I thought you were going to say we're bipolar. We're bi-weekly. We're whatever.
We're vicariously going over.